Hi, Tim. Very good morning and good evening, all. Happy to see you all again after a year, right? Team, we were discussing about this project, right? I know, we are having some long leave and long weekends and all those. I just don't wanted to maybe like even further go down with the next week or later week because of I know like this is a Pongal weekend. I know. Couple of our team members might not be even available. However, along with that first video what you have taken, I'll be sharing you this also. So basically, if you remember, right, we were having this project created as a comprehensive project, right, with all the project name we defined earlier, and then we discussed about the synopsis of the project and what you are going to achieve out of this project by using most of the components in the GCP platform, right? In one of the cloud platform at least, using multiple tech stacks and the strategies like defining the maybe like functions or usage of stored procedures and Spark programs, Dataproc Spark programs, and all those, right? And some sort of terminologies what we were using in this project as well. What we discussed all this and all in the last session actually, like how we created the data model and how we formed the core table ER diagrams and all those. And very importantly, I was talking about what are all the different phases we can have in this project overall in the execution side. But on top of this, right, going with all this, we had a complete reference architecture defined over here where predominantly we have a data ingestion layer, processing layer for doing some sort of curation, transformation and all, and serving layer where analytical queries will be written and analytics will be done, the data analytics will be done. And the insight layer we have where we generate the reports, dashboards and all. And then we have the data lakehouse environment or a data warehouse environment where we'll go and perform some sort of lakehouse operations. We have the tables available with denormalized views or materialized views and all those. And we propagate the data in a raw fashion, then cleanse it and in the curated fashion and all in our underlying data storage layer. And we expose this data. Finally, the data warehouse layer and through the data analytical layer, through the serving layer, we'll be exposing the data out for the machine learning team, the data science team, and the data analytics team, maybe as a kind of a egress feeds, as a reporting data to the consumption team in a form of like dashboards they generate, or we send the data to some third-party systems also. So mainly I'm targeting today, right? I mean, like a couple of these components we already know in terms of how the processing we do, how the core processing we do by using Spark or by using Bigquery itself. And we know maybe like how we can write some transformation logics and all those and all. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in that because we have a very minimal time to connect on this part, particularly today. What I'm particularly looking for to cover, majorly two things. One is this project, we have a batch layer and the real-time layer, right? The real-time layer, we did not touch based yet. Batch layer, at least we touch based on understanding about different pipelines, the data ingestion, how do we do in a batch mode, maybe directly by using BigQuery or by using Spark. I'll be touch basing today because we did not see that last week. And maybe like data prep, I'm not going to touch base because it is just a data wrangling tool. Directly we can create the pipeline, which we have already seen in our in our actual learning and all, right? So I'm not going to touch base on that, but I'm going to touch base on three major flows today. Okay, that is how I prepared this project further down. If you remember correctly, we have already seen these pipelines and all already we have maybe like progress towards, right? In the ingestion layer, come curation layer, we have progressed on these pipelines. What are the pipelines, Majorly, we were taking the API data, exchange data by using our Dataproc program. We wrote a Dataproc Spark program to pull the API data by using Spark in a batch mode. Once in a day or once in an hour, we are going to pull the currency data, the currency information, the population information, the people who are all using different currencies in different countries. to understand about some sort of risk factors and all in the banking project, right? One activity what we do is like this. The second one what we were doing is we were collecting the data from the cloud storage, the loans dimension data, the customer dimension data, and the credit card dimension data. Our credit card data we were ingesting into our Bigquery layer by using our Bigquery itself, Bigquery import statements, or Bigquery external table concept, or Bigquery big lake concept we were using to pull the data from the cloud storage whenever the data is coming in a form of even a credit card image. We are applying some model on it, AI model on it, or a GenAI model on it, LLM model or GenAI model. By using Vertex AI of Google, we were achieving some interesting things out of that in the last session that we were engaging, right? I'm just giving you a high level overview of that. Ultimately, now what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to see the real-time pipeline, how we can enable, where we are going to see running of a data flow job that we have created in a custom fashion. Like this is the first time I'm going to talk about that part with you guys. We are using template methodology to make use of the existing template to pull the data from some external system. If you remember correctly, in our learning, I have shown you guys how we can go and create a template to, or use a template to get the data from the pubsub messaging system to the Bigquery table by using dataflow tool. Today I'm going to talk about, maybe in a bit extended way, I'm going to show you this pipeline already we know. So I just don't want to use the same kind of pipeline. What we are going to see today is not this kind of pipeline we are going to run. I'm going to show you guys how we can use data flow to go and connect to some external API system. How do we create a data flow job to go and talk to some external API service, pull some complex JSON data and convert that into the format, or only liberate some of the fields out of the JSON data in whatever the level that we want, and push the data to the pubsub environment. Something like this, we are going to see a pipeline today. So from the customer web events, which is getting collected in the banking system, we are going to pull the customer web events where the banking system is going to, or where the customers are going to generate some weblog activities they are going to do. We are going to hit this API. We know about this API already. We have some data seen from this API. We are going to hit this API by using the data flow tool. We are going to create a custom data flow template rather than going with the built-in template provided by Dataflow. We are going to create a custom template because this has been asked or expected in the organizations nowadays. They are just expecting, okay, have you created any custom data flow pipelines? So to fulfill that part, I'm just creating, or I'm going to talk with you guys on this pipeline today, predominantly. This is one pipeline. So we are going to understand the complete end-to-end transformation and how we can visualize the data till the visualization environment. We can able to see that. This is one pipeline we are going to see. In addition to that, this is more related to the real-time streaming pipeline we are going to see. And in the batch pipeline, we were looking more towards the data ingestion data curation pipeline in the last session. Actually, the data ingestion we were doing from the sources like the JSON data we were taking, and we were transforming. We are applying some historical load, incremental load and all by running our stored procedures like SCD1 stored procedure and SCD2 stored procedures we were running, if you remember correctly, to load the two data sets. One is the customer dimension data and the loan dimension data into our Bigquery layer, into our lakehouse layer. This part what we completed in the last session itself. And we were doing some sort of API ingestion. We were pulling the data from the API by using the Spark program, by using the Python program. Then we put the convert that whatever the JSON data into a Spark data frames, and we were writing the data frame into the Bigquery table. Also, we have seen the currency data, exchange data, and all, and we were building a lot of use cases out of it, like risk category aggregation, risk aggregation, currency management, currency data management, large country details like this and all we were seeing. Post this, we are going more towards the curation and the analytical layer. Here also we had curation. We are not only having ingestion. This is still the ingestion part, but we did some sort of curated data operation also. But here we are going to see today, I'm going to take you guys down to perform the curation operation by using the components like Dataproc in one side. The data flow also we are going to do some curation in the other side in a real-time fashion. And I'm going to talk with you guys on, this is the complete curation thing, what we are going to discuss now in the name of Dataproc, how we perform some operations, how we manage some checkpoint file to do some incremental data ingestion from the relational database, from some external databases, how we achieve these scenarios and all, overdraft usage information, high value payments identification, or low balance account information, or doing some sort of like cross-sell opportunities, right? Doing some sort of reconciliation activity in the banking system, like some of these kind of revenue leakage or fee leakage, customers, whether they did not pay the expected fees as we expected, whether we have any leakage in our system, like all those kind of leakage analysis and all, we are going to do in this pipeline. This pipeline we will start with. We'll go and discuss on this pipeline maybe predominantly. Then something which we did not seen so far, or which is not in our scope even. I'm going to take you guys towards that part also, the third pipeline. The first one pipeline is this one. This we are aware of fully. Only thing is, when you go and exhibit it as a project, when you are going to say like, hey, I worked in a banking project, or I worked in some other project which is involving the cash transaction. So this is not supposed to be only a banking project. This you can use it in a healthcare and life science or telecom or any project also. You are going to talk about some of these items like high value payments some customers have made while purchasing a product from my business, or how many customers are maintaining a low account in our telecom system, how many customers are not making the payment properly, I'm flagging the failed transactions, how many people have made an excessive fee for consuming my product. This is not only related to banking. You can predominantly it is a banking related metrics that we are taking, but you can use it for other systems also by changing some of these maybe like terms here and there. Maybe overdraft is specific to bank, but other things I'm telling you can take 2 or 3 or 5 of these metrics and explain about these are all the metrics we are calculating in our system. That is very important to understand in this particular scenario what you are going to discuss. In the other hand, the third pipeline, what I'm going to talk with you guys is this one, which is something not fully in our scope, right? But we need to talk in one terms of what you know. Hey, we are doing some sort of like data engineering operation, data enablement operation, where we are serving the data to different consumers. One of the consumer is, you can see here, we are consuming the data to the data analytics team, or I'm playing a role of a data analyst. I'm doing a data analyst role also, you can tell. I'm doing data engineering activity of transporting or propagating or curating, aggregating all the data across all the layers. In addition, I'm building some dashboards. I'm playing a dashboard building role, or I'm playing a data analyst role, or I'm playing a role of producing the data to the outside world by producing an egress data. I'm sending the data to the outside world by exporting the data to the GCS storage, or I'm giving the data to the reporting team for generating some sort of visualizations and dashboards. In addition to that, I'm giving the data to the analytics team, or not analytics team, AIML team, data science team. Even I did some sort of data science GenAI model usage as a data engineer. Last week, we have seen that part actually. Very interesting part, right? Last session, we have seen this part actually. How I am taking the credit card image data and converting that into a text, plain text, or into our structured data format. How we are converting the unstructured data to semi-structured to structure by using Gemini Pro Vision libraries or by using LLM model application, by prompting, by creating the prompt engineering, by applying prompt engineering. Like these are all the advanced techniques used in the market. Like how, as a data engineer, I use this advanced technique. We have seen that. If you explain about this and all, has a big, meaningful outcome. Okay. If you put some strategic effort of explaining means preparing on this and explaining means it is applicable for every domains actually. In our organization, we did one of the activity of identifying the bills, capturing the information from the bill and convert that into a valuable data set. Capturing from the PDF bills, are we giving the right amount, right name is displayed and all this and all. We were doing some reconciliation with the bills what we are generating. So like this, you can say the image to text we are converting with the prompt engineering, very importantly. Image to text conversion is very easy. With the prompt engineering we were doing in the last session. This is bit related to some sort of like data science, advanced data science, computer visioning or usage of the Gemini APIs and all provided by Google. Respective cloud providers, respective companies are promoting their own product. That's a different story. The same way, we are having a gray area of saying what hey, the data whatever I'm giving to my data analyst, they are writing queries, they are writing some analytical queries. I know like what they are doing with my data. In the other hand, whatever the data that I'm giving to the report developers, visualization engineers, I know like what they are doing with the data. But I'm giving the data to my data scientists. I'm telling I'm working ultimately for giving the data to the data scientists or AIML team, machine learning team, ML team, data science team. Like this, I'm telling what they are doing with the data. I want to get some clarity on that so I can provide the data much better to them. Right? What is dependent variables, independent variables? What is features? What is feature engineering? What is features? How they are using our data for creating the test data, or how they are using our data for training their model. What is model training? Something, rather than say, I don't have any idea on that. Rather than you go on to change your line of learning or line of your domain from data engineering to data science, rather than staying in the data engineering and data analytics to the data science, you're not going to do that part. That is a big ocean, another big ocean, actually. Right? That ocean, we may get an opportunity to swim on and off, maybe using some, maybe like ML model application or ML data provisioning or setting up of the pipeline for the ML system. That kind of interaction as a data engineer or as a data analyst, we will be doing. But applying of all these models by learning how the model works, how the entire ecosystem of the data science works, which is a big part actually, which is a very vague part. It's not achievable just like that. We can't just go and simply learn and do that in this one session or two session or even 100 sessions. Okay, that is a different ball game. But my aim is talking about or removing some gray area of saying rather than, hey guys, rather than we say like this, right? Hey, I give my data to the data science team. They will build some model on top of it. They will build some model, some data science model, linear logistics or KMS or whatever the model they are going to build, right? I will be providing the data to them. Rather, we say we can understand how a model building is happening from our data, how they are going to further take this forward. And what is the algorithm used in the background is not much needed for us. But when we learn something, we wanted to know something about that. We don't want to just learn in a gray area fashion. So for that, I'm going to cover after we provision the data to them in a serving layer or in our data warehouse, in our lakehouse environment. Once we provide the data in the unified data lakehouse and the data warehouse environment in our side, how this model team is going to make use of the data is the point we are considering here. So how the data science model is being built and how that is being served to the customer in a form of visualization and a dashboard. So we are going to see that pipeline also as one more pipeline. So 3 pipelines we are going to see here. Ultimately, you are going to say what? Hey, I'm using Bigquery stored procedures. I'm using Dataproc jobs. I'm using dataflow jobs to bring the data, to curate the data, to keep the data in our lakehouse, to perform some analytical functionalities on it, to build some dashboards, to expose the data to the consumers of us. All this we are going to tell in this entire project, in this entire architecture. But in the data science side, what they are doing? In the data engineering core side, what we are going to do by creating some Spark program to perform some sort of data ingestion, data curation activity that is going to give lot of KPIs and business outcomes, because this also plays a vital role. This is our core part. This plays a vital role. So one part is we are going to cover how we get some lot of business outcome out of this data that we are receiving, how we are giving this data further to the data science team to create some model on top of the data to predict something, to do some sort of profit prediction, how much the profit I'm going to get from my customers. If my profit goes down or if my profit goes up, what is the action item I have to make? And I wanted to do some real-time analytics on the data to understand, to route the geo traffic and all customers connecting from different location of the world, and how can I increase or decrease the pricing at the runtime based on the demand the customer has. Real-time customer interaction, how I can ask my call center to make if some customers face some challenges in managing their pipeline. Like this and all, we are going to create a real-time streaming pipeline also. So these 3 pipelines what you are going to create is very vital. This has a direct impact in the business, direct impact in the outcome of the business in the organization. So let's go on, approach one after another, guys. Okay. So I hope you understood like what is the rest of the part of this project we are going to see today. Okay. Other than that, so we have already seen a couple of 3 or 4 pipelines already. SCD1, SCD2 pipeline, as usual, are 4 pipelines we have already seen. Getting the data from the API in a batch mode and propagating that to the final table for getting some sort of business outcome. Applying some GenAI model to convert the image to final text, normalized data or structured data format conversion for doing some sort of like analysis on the data, doing some sort of correlation or maybe like validation of the data. All this we did as a 4 pipelines already, plus 3 more pipelines I'm going to add here. The 3 more pipelines is more towards how we are going to emit the data to the consumers, how we are going to create some analytical layer for the consumers to make use, how we are going to apply or provide a data science layer also, which is not our ball game to play, but still we are understanding, or if we are getting a requirement for doing this also, there will be separate team available in the organization. But at times we are getting a requirement, oh, you itself take care of this data science model building part. Or we are going to, until a new data science team is formed, or we are doing it as a POC, anything. Or we are understanding how the data science team is taking forward our data. For all that reason, we are going to build this pipeline finally. So 3 pipelines we'll go and see from now. Okay, I hope you are all with me in this, what I'm speaking is. Right, what you are going to achieve. Something not completely usual. Something I'm not going to show only a usual thing this time. Okay, something explicit we are going to see. Okay, guys. So in that line, we have payments, transaction, accounts, fact data, right? The detailed data where we were earlier taking or more fully concentrating towards the dimension data, the loan data, loan dimensions, which contains the people who are all taken the loan, how much loan balance they have, and all those information. Customer dimension data we had, customer information we had. But now we are going to take the detailed data, which is stored in the database system. Let's assume we are going to collect the point of sale data. The POS data is collected in a form of payments, transactions, and the accounts information, where it is being maintained in database system. Let's assume. So I had one problem recently started in my this thing, our whatever the cloud platform, right? Where there is some billing issue I had with the cloud platform. I paid the bill, in fact, to retain this project, but still I have some billing issue in the platform what I'm using. However, I'm not able to start any cluster, or I'm not able to do anything new, but the existing one I'm able to use thoroughly. I had all the existing thing I'm able to use. They have locked my billing. I requested for opening it up, but still I'm waiting for that. The bill locking has to be enabled. Okay, let it be. However, I'll take you guys to the Cloud SQL environment where I have a database running already. So in the civil.fin project, one of the project, we have a database running. So this database, if my billing is totally closed, means I can't run anything. I have my instance running and all, but they're not allowing me to create some new instances because of some suspicious thing they found and all. If you see here, right, I opened this to public and a lot of people were using this and all. Because of some reason, they held my bill, not for not allowing me to start anything. They found some suspicious thing. That's the reason. However, it is okay. You can see here how much this CPU are being utilized and all throughout the day, because I given this database as an open database for couple of our team members. Okay, in different days, you can see different period of time, different people are using this database. Okay, fine, let it be. Now, we have some tables in the database used by some external systems. I'm not telling it is supposed to be Cloud SQL. Okay, so we have some databases. See how many people are using this database of the current batch and all. Let it be. So I'm going to access from the bank database or something else. I have a database called, one second. What is the database I created? Inceptez Bank Raw. Inceptez Bank is the database name. Okay. So I'm going to search for the Inceptez Bank database name. Okay. Core banking database name. Okay. So here I have a couple of tables created. What are the payments table, or what are the table that we are going to import, like payments, transaction, and accounts table. Okay. So we'll go and see the tables. So you can see payments table is kept over here. So the customer who made the payment amount, right? Using the clearing system, using the currency for retail customer or a corporate customer. All this information I am collecting in a payments table. Like this, we have other tables available in this particular environment, like accounts and transaction table. So the data structure of the tables we can find here. Payments, the transaction table, where something is being flagged in the source system itself as a suspicious transaction or whatever. The currency used for making the transaction. The accounts table, we have which account ID, from which account ID, which account type this transaction is being made. So there is a relation between, we have here, between this account table and this transaction table, account ID is being used. And here also we are using the account ID for what are the payments the customer have made for credit card or whatever the system. The clearing system could be anything. they are making the payment for the different clearing systems. So account holders making payments and transactions, right? We are leaving some charges for transactions and all. We are capturing the connection between these three tables in a database side. So we are going to use our Spark program, right? Where we start our Spark program with the driver program, which is going to use the common functions where we are going to connect to the database by using the partitioned RDBMS data, because for getting large volume of data in a more faster fashion, and we are using some Spark session object properties file and connection properties to connect with the relational database. The database is running in the remote, maybe like a database environment. In this IP address and the port number, we are using that. Okay. Now the driver program, we are starting with the main program where we are passing all these necessary arguments. So how do we run this program? We need to have a cluster available. We can have it configured with the composer also. But whereas if you see here, we are having a whatever the cluster earlier we had also, we can use the cluster to run with the, where it is, sorry. Okay, where we are going to submit the job to run. You can see here, we are going to the Dataproc environment. We are submitting the job to go and collect the data from the RDBMS platform and put it into our Bigquery tables, the respective payments and other tables into our current environment. After we bring the data, ingest the data into our Bigquery environment from the relational database to our Bigquery table by using Spark, right? We are ingesting the data in a more optimized fashion, first of all. We are going to ingest the data by using change data capture. We are going to ingest the data by using partition technique, maybe like parallel data ingestion we are going to do. All this, we can achieve it in the Spark program. Then we are going to bring the data to our BigQuery layer. We are going to run some data transformation from analytical stored procedures to take the data to the curated layer and provide some views or provide some denormalized data sets, denormalized data tables, and exposing the data to the outsiders for generating reports or visualizations or performing some analytics on the data. These are all the analytical outcome of the data. Whatever we are applying in the stored procedures, these two stored procedures we'll go and find. Then next see how we are arriving all those kind of maybe like overdraft limit usage and all the concepts. But before that, we are over here in this part, how we are going to do the change data capture, the incremental data ingestion, how we are going to perform the incremental data ingestion by capturing the data that is getting changed in the source system, by capturing the data that is changed in the source system in a performant way, in a parallel way of importing the data automatically by identifying the min-max value and all from the source table. That is where I have around 3 functions created over here, right? One is for getting the data from the RDBMS table by using partitions. Deriving the upper bound and the lower bound. Like in Scoop and all, we used to do this. And even in Spark also, we have the upper bound, lower bound options that we can use. We can go and say, what is the lower bound value and the upper bound value? And returning that upper bound and the lower bound value over here dynamically and identifying the number of partitions that we are supposed to apply to capture the data from that source. So we are doing this dynamically. We are going to do this dynamically. Let's see how we are going to do that based on the volume of data. We are going to first fetch the volume of data, how much we are going to import. And the volume of data that we are going to import based on the data what we imported earlier. So for example, I'm going to import the data from the table called payments table. Let's take it into consideration. The payment table has the date and timestamp column of like what is the latest data that I have imported so far. The payment date of this much date up to I am already imported. In the past 1 week, I did not imported the data. Till yesterday, I imported the data. Today's payment, I did not imported. So what I'll do, I'll go and apply the date greater than the yesterday date, or whatever the data I did not imported yet, I wanted to import only that newly added data from the source. How I'm going to maintain that incremental or perform that incremental data ingestion? By retaining the last data, whatever I imported so far, into my system. So for that, we are going to have some concept of checkpointing operation we are going to perform. Checkpointing means we are going to collect the data from the database and put it into our Bigquery table. And how much data we pulled from the database table, we will be keeping that in a checkpoint file in our system, in our Dataproc cluster. And use this checkpoint file to identify what was the data I bring so far into my Bigquery table. What is the next data set I have to bring from the source table? When the next iteration, when I'm going to run the query to pull the data from the table, we will be referring from this checkpoint file. So in that aspect, how I have designed this is, if I wanted to perform a incremental or a full import of data from the accounts table, from the transactions table, from the payment table, we are going to call a function called, so see, basically we are going to call the main method. We are going to directly check for arguments are available or not. If so, we are going to call the main method directly. At the time when the main method we are calling, we are going to initiate the Spark session object. We are initiating the Spark session object by using the get Spark session function that we are going to call from this, whatever the common functions.py or whatever. Right? This is obvious. We are all already aware of this. We are configuring config parser, and we are reading that configuration file, which we are passing as an argument to this. And we are creating a Spark session object, returning that Spark session object to the calling environment, to the driver. Then we are getting the Spark session object created, logger level and all I'm setting. We are going to perform the data ingestion operation here, right? Especially what we are going to do is perform an incremental data load operation we are performing. So incremental data load operation, we are going to call a function. We are going to call a function over here, which is going to pull the data from the database with all the necessary parameters that I'm going to pass, which includes the checkpoint file, where I'm going to read the latest processed date value. What was the latest process that I did from the source system? The date is already stored in the checkpoint file. For the first time, it may be kept in our whatever the file system, or it will not be available in the file system. So first time it may not have the value, so it will pull all the data. Second time onwards, it will pull the data greater than what value I'm just collecting from this file. So I'm going to use a checkpoint file methodology to store the latest date that we have used. So this function we are going to call predominantly, perform incremental load function we are going to call by passing the necessary arguments. The Spark session argument, the database property file, the connection property file to connect with the database, right? Then the database name from the source, the table name, and then the checkpoint file information, checkpoint file where it has to store in our system and all. The column name, which I'm going to use for incrementally collecting the data, date when the account is opened, or when the transaction date have happened on the transaction table, when the payment is made on the payment table. Like I'm going to use the respective column to incrementally collect the data. So the maximum payment data already collected is still day before yesterday, means that value will be stored in my checkpoint file. From that file, I'll go and check what was the latest date I have collected the data from, or day before yesterday, that is on 10th of January. So I'll go and put greater than anything, greater than any payment date that is greater than 10th of January, you collect the data, I'll say. So whatever the data that is loaded in the source table on 11th of January or 12th of January will be collected. And I use this checkpoint file for storing and using the date for collecting the next run data. Then once I get the 12th of January or 11th of January date from the source table, I go and update that in the payments file with the latest date of 11th of January. So when the Spark job runs again next, even accidentally, it will only look for the data that is greater than 11th of January. So like this has been designed, right? So date column of payment date, number of partition, by default, I'm defining up to 6 or 10 or whatever the number. Then partition column of payment ID, I'm using some high cardinality value, I'm using some unique number column I'm using. You are aware of this, why we use this. Then only the partitions queue will not occur when the data is collected from the source database table. Then the target database name and the Bigquery table name we are going to mention here for storing the data. So Inceptez bank is the database name and the payments raw is the table name. We will be using this, the Bigquery dataset name and all, we are having it over here. So now what this perform incremental load is going to do, I'm going to call all the perform incremental load function for 3 tables to import the data, right? Check if whether it is an incremental or a full load that we are going to do, right? So we are going to check in the checkpoint file by using this function called check last process date from the checkpoint file, whatever I'm passing as an argument. The file will be kept in our location with no content or no file even is present. We are going to handle it accordingly. So if you go and see this check get the last process date on the checkpoint file, we are going to open that file by using the Python function called os.path.exist check we are going to do. If the path is exist, then we are going to open that file for reading purpose. Then we are going to read that file. If the file does not contain any value, I'm going to strip that value and make it as a blank value, and I'm going to return that. Right? Return that last process date. If the last process date that is returned is not contains any value, if no value is returned, I'm checking for that. If true, if I have some value, then you go and apply the filter from the table using the date column as a filter, whatever I'm passing the payment date as a filter, and pull the data whichever is greater than the payment date. Else what you do, you just fetch the entire data. For the first time, we load the entire data into the table. So we have the query generated in this way, and we are going to give that query, whatever we generated, right, to get executed for pulling the data. In the meantime, what we are going to do, we are going to call one more function, get min and max database partition value. So we are going to pass all the database property file, database name, table name, and the partition column what we are using to read the data in a parallel fashion. We are getting the upper bound and the lower bound value of the data what we have. So by passing the payment ID as a column, right, we are going to get the minimum payment ID and the maximum payment ID from the given table by passing this, by calling this get min max db functionality. So where is the get min max db function we have here? Okay, I have it over here in the common function. So here we are going to connect to the database and get the minimum and the maximum value that we have in the table maximum of what we may have. Right, we are going to connect to the database, collect that information by running the query, by running the table and the using all the other credentials. We are going to open that configuration file, understand what is the database name, username, password, and everything. We are going and capturing the min-max value of the partition column. Then returning that min-max value, the upper bound and the lower bound value from the data set whatever we collected as an output of this file. The data frame we are collecting and getting the array value. That array, out of that array value, we are taking. If the value is not equal to 0, or the upper bound or the lower bound is equal to 0, means then we are going with none. Otherwise, we are returning that value to the calling environment. So the lower bound and the upper bound value we got over here using this function. Using this get min max value from the database, and we are storing that into 2 variables. Then we are going to pass that as an argument to the get data function, get partition RDBMS data function. where we are passing this query what we created. Whatever the query, whether the entire table query or only the last process state query or whichever, greater than last process state query or whichever, we are going to pass it as an input to this function. This function will do what? This function will go and get the data from the source table, running this query in our common function list. So this again going to read the configuration parser file, database name, username, password, and everything it is going to use. And it is going to run my query, whatever we have created, either the full query or the incremental query, applying the partition column, applying the lower bound and the upper bound over here with the number of partitions mentioned. Number of partitions, maybe we are mentioning it hard-coded fashion, or based on the volume of data, we can change this number of partition also here as a calculation. I did not complicate it in that way. So dynamically, we are going to use the minimum and the maximum value of the table that contains, and we are going to apply the partition on top of that to split the data and get the data much faster in this data frame, connecting with 6 parallel connections to the database or 10 parallel connections to the database. And the data, whatever we received from the database, will be stored in this data frame and got returned to this calling environment. So we are getting this data into this RDBMS data frame. Then we are going to add some more columns, load date, load timestamp, right? And the timestamp data frame, we are going to write it into the Bigquery. We are going to ultimately write it into the Bigquery table and the data set at the table name. This iteration is completed, calculating the total number of records, mentioning the output. If the number of record is greater than 0, then we are going to capture the max date value from the data frame, because we wanted to store that max date value into the file. Say save the last process date into this file with the max date and the table name value mentioned. So this save last process date we are doing for storing this information into a file. We are writing this information into a file, opening the file for writing in Python and writing that value to the file.write. We are opening this as an object. We are opening this particular file, whatever we are passing as an argument as an object. Then in that object, we are writing this date value. So what happened? Whatever the payment date that we recently collected from the source table, that date value will be stored in this file for the next reference. This will happen like a cycle automatically. Whenever I run the job, it will go and fetch the incremental data, store it into the table, Bigquery table, and it will write it into the whatever the save point file, what we are looking into here. This will go and connect to the RDBMS table in a parallel fashion. That is where we are using some whatever the min-max and the parallel partition mechanism and all, and writing the save point file with the latest payment date, transaction date, and the account state and all, accounts ID and all, or accounts date and all, account transaction date and all. So after saving this last processed date, right, our iteration is completed. Our entire iteration is completed. So get last processed date, save the last processed date of the data that we are propagating. And we are using some functions like get the data by applying the partition, calculate the min-max value, the boundary value, initiate the Spark session object. So there are 3 functions we have over here in the common function list. And in the driver program, we have get last process date function to read the data, the latest date from the file, save the latest date into the file after the processing is completed. Incremental data load operation, we are primarily calling to perform all this operation. And the main method we have available to call the incremental load operation. This will call internally all the other functions and perform this complete data ingestion operation by using our Pyspark program. So we completed getting the data from the database in an incremental fashion, maintaining the checkpoint file by using Spark JDBC program. We collected the changed data from the source, right? Whatever the newly added payments from the source. We did an incremental data ingestion by applying the partition to our Bigquery tables. We got now the payments, customer, and whatever the other tables available in our Bigquery layer. It's a part where we are into now. You are with me in this team, right? Payments raw, accounts raw, transactions raw. Okay. All this data in the core banking data set I have got available. I have made this available. The only challenge I have is I can't go and create a new cluster in this environment because of I told you the reason of some billing issue I had. Okay. So if I go and try create a Dataproc cluster here, it is not allowing me to do even. So I can't run and show you guys the program to perform. So if I just create a cluster, it is telling what? Irfan, you have some problem in enabling the billing. But you see here, I'm able to run the queries, Bigqueries, and everything I'm able to run. So this data now we have available in our Bigquery layer, where we are going to take this data further down for analytical environment. So we are going to take this data down to the analytical layer, to the curated layer. From the curated layer or from the analytical layer, by running the SP from the raw layer, we are going to take it forward. So all this kind of use case applied tables, metrics will be created. We are going to use two stored procedures to further proceed, further take the data from the one Bigquery table to another Bigquery tables or another set of Bigquery tables we are creating out of this. Pretty interestingly. So we have accounts raw table with the account ID, account type, balance, the credit score of the customer, the currency they used for transaction, customer ID, manager ID, who performed this operation, who overdraft limit, load date, load timestamp, and all we have. Like this, payments raw table we have. The payments, whatever we have seen in our Bigquery, in our this table, right? Our database table, we got it now into our Bigquery table as well. These are all I ran through that code only, whatever I have shown you. Right now, I'm not in a position to run this and show you. That's the only caveat I have, right? And then the transaction raw table that we have as well. What are the transactions they made? What is the activity they performed? Right? Whether the status is failed or passed, whether it's a suspicious transaction. All this information we can see here. We have a couple of failed transaction, past transaction, and all this we may have here. Suspicious, true or false. Right? All this we have over here. What type of activity they performed, and all this information I am just collecting from the source table. So all the three table data we have now in our hand. We are going to perform some operations on these three tables. Maybe if needed, we can use the customer table, which customer made this transaction, all that information also. But we are going to marry these three tables to build some use cases out of it. For that, what we are doing is we are using some stored procedures. We are creating some stored procedure. We are going to keep the stored procedures in the overall DAG to get triggered. Okay, that is a different story. Even I have the DAG also available. I can give you guys for your usage. We can go and make use of this DAG for that purpose.
Irfan, before we move to the other step, right? I have a
Yeah.
couple of questions. Can I
Please.
ask?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Okay. The checkpoint file is kind of a configuration file. It always refers when we trigger the batch, is it? Configuration in the sense like
it's not a configuration file. It's just a control file. We used to call it as.
Okay. If you don't mind, could you show the file how it looks like actually?
The checkpoint file you're asking, right? That just it will have the three values over here. So if you see, what we are storing in this checkpoint file is only this value. We are going to save the information, right? Like what is the date and the table name it is going to have in this file. So we are going to particularly write the date value into this file.
Okay. Does it have any steps like 1, 2, 3, which table has to go in which order and all?
No. Basically, we are creating here three different checkpoint files. If you see the arguments, what I'm using here is maybe you can have in that way also what you're asking. But
because why I'm asking is there are certain tables which has to upload first only, then the other dependent tables has to, for example, the payment details.
If that is the case, right, you can see here we are running it in sequential only. First we are making accounts, then transactions, then payments.
Okay.
So we are running it in sequence. But as you mentioned, if we have that dependencies has to be maintained, then we'll put it in the DAG as a task. We'll have this one Pyspark job created as 3, and job 1, job 2, job 3 we'll keep. That way also we can do to achieve what you are telling. But here, the checkpoint file, I'm going to just store that date value. That's it. Nothing else I'm going to store. With me? So
Yeah,
I
Irfan.
have run it in our local also. Maybe I have to open that PyCharm and I have to show you. But however, right,
Correct, correct, correct.
this is
Yeah, yeah.
just a file we are going to store. If you see, if I'm going to run right, I'll be having checkpoint file accounts, checkpoint file transactions. So each and every table, I'm not going to store even in the checkpoint as a table name. I can store only that just the date also that is sufficient, or we can design it accordingly. I can create one checkpoint and I'll go and append 3 values in the checkpoint with payments, accounts, and whatever, right?
Okay, the next question,
Okay.
Irfan.
Yeah.
The next question, see, we initialized the full load. Then
Mm,
subsequently, we are doing the incremental load.
great.
So, as it is a like the POS, right? The point of sales,
Mm, 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 mm.
what happened to what will happen to the previous, say, suppose there is a change in the previous date,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
like the date we have loaded, it
yeah.
is getting only incrementally loaded, right? So
Correct,
what will
correct. So
happen?
it
Yeah.
is, we are using a natural date column to achieve this actually. So this one is not going to capture the previously modified value. So if that is the case, we have to ask the source system to maintain one more column. If there is a payment change is going to happen in a previous data, older data, okay, older payment data, we are going to have some modification made. Means what you are supposed to do here, we should not use the column called payment date column over here, right? We are using an incremental date column called payment date or account date column and all, right? We should not use that column. We have to use update date column. Then we should go with the data ingestion that is supposed to be done not based on the payment date, the natural date column we should not use. Rather, we have to use update date column, update timestamp column. Maybe date update or timestamp update. Then we have to pass that as an argument to pull the data. So update timestamp column, if we have in the table, right, it is going to be populated for the existing data which got updated or the new data that got inserted. With me?
Okay. Okay. See, as
So
far
we
as
can't
my
use the
understanding, Irfan,
natural table column. That's the only thing.
as far as my understanding, there are three ways. Actually, one is truncate and load. Actually, so which is
Correct,
usually always
correct, correct,
wind up the data and then load it. The second
correct.
thing is that kind of incrementally we load it
Correct.
as we see. Then the third thing is that we reconcile with the with the keys, whatever we have existence, that reconciliation will run for each of the records, kind of an upsert, and then it loads, right?
Correct,
So,
correct,
which
correct.
mechanism this
We have
falls
seen
under?
that the two mechanism what you're asking about, right? In the previous session, I hope you attend that or you attended that or not. The this one I have shown the methodology what you're asking. The other two methodologies, the SCD 1 and 2, I have shown. I literally used merge operation and all over
Okay,
here. Insert only,
okay, okay.
no update. And here I made a insert else update, merge operation. You see here, this is what you're asking, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
we have
yeah.
3 methodologies available. Since I shown those 2 methodologies, I'm just only going with considering, okay, only the new data I'm accommodating this time. I'm not
Oh,
accommodating.
okay, Irfan. Yeah, I didn't attend the first session. I'll
Oh,
have a
no
look
worries.
into
I,
the
I
YouTube.
have
Yeah,
given that video even. So you
sure,
please refer
sure,
that.
sure.
So all the methodologies are the 3 methodologies as you mentioned, correct? Here we are going with that the second methodology. I'm telling what only I'm assuming the source is going to have only a new payments, new accounts, new transactions
Correct,
added
correct. Yeah,
because it
yeah.
is a fact table. It is going to be a maybe like a transaction table which may be very heavy in volume. So we should not go. That's where we are going with even parallel data ingestion. We are going with more the boundary queries. We are running with more partitions, and all these are because of the reason this data is going to be heavyweight data. So we should not encourage doing this kind of activities and all. Maybe like what I would say, like um, I mean, we should not be going with the complete load, truncate and load operation. We should not pull all the data from the source table. That will increase our execution time very lot. Clear?
Correct,
So we are
Irfan.
only doing an incremental ingestion because of that reason. So particularly this data, we are going in the way how it is good in the governance, right?
Sure, Irfan. One last question, Irfan. Are we maintaining
Yeah.
any audit trail table kind of thing in this approach
Yes,
actually?
that we were using in the earlier examples and all. I was just storing this information in an audit table about how much data we imported, which step we completed, and all those information. This one we are not doing. Even in the previous one, I was explaining that too.
Sure. Okay.
Even in our
Thank you.
regular learning, even I have shown that examples of how we maintain some audit table to store the intermediate information about and all. If you go and see in our documentation, you can find that actually. Like old documents and all, you can search for audit, you'll see we are storing the data in some sort of some steps and all in the audit tables. Yes, we do actually. Okay, right? Any other questions? Anybody else? Okay, guys, let me move forward. So the next level is we are applying the curation and transformation or analytical functionalities on top of the data. Okay, this is more specific to the business. You can rearrange this business according to your needs. So this part we completed the ingestion. Now I'm taking you guys to the stored procedures. Right, there are two stored procedures I created. Right, the stored procedure number 1 represents what? We are going to calculate couple of metrics. So I'm going to get one of the table called the ledger flattened table, bank ledger flattened table I'm creating with the raw accounts data taken into consideration with all the required columns alone placed with the overdraft usage accounts information I'm taking and I'm loading that into this table, right, as one set of data set, one set of columns. So I'm calculating the overdraft utilization percentage. How many customers have utilized the overdraft facility, right? And what is the percentage of utilization I'm calculating and storing into this table, the bank ledger flattened table. So if you see this table, it contains the entire flattened data. Maybe I'm creating this set of table here. I'm creating a flattened table which I'll expose as a view to the customer. So it will have entire data set available. So I'm bringing all the data in one view. You can see here a huge set of columns are available in this view. One set of data, what I'm bringing is overdraft limit usage. So I'm creating one denormalized table, a flattened table, wide table. We can call it in any name. Fat table, not a fact table, fat, FAT table, right? And I'm storing wherever the customer who utilized the overdraft limit more than the balance what they have. I'm storing that data by creating a common table expression with overdraft usage as so and so. Then high value payments, how much customer have made. How much customer have made after applying the exchange rate on the amount more than $10,000, how much people have made a high value currency payment. I'm just calculating this and keeping it in a table, in one table itself, for the given customer, for the given account, for the given payment, what they made. Why I'm doing this activity? Because I wanted to identify the cross-sell capability. I wanted to identify who are all have made a high value payments. So I can find those kind of customers as a kind of a high potential customer. So I can go and sell my other products to them. In the bank, they may be doing this, right? You'll be getting call because of you may be having a good potential account or potential transactions you might have made. So because of that, they'll call you. Then accounts opened very recently and they are maintaining some balance in it as well. Transaction flagged as a failed. So status has failed. How many of the customer have made the failed transactions? How many of the customer have made an excessive fees? How much they have paid an additional fees by making lot of transactions or lot of mistakes or lot of late payments and everything. I'm just capturing that data also I'm storing in a table. So whatever the transaction, accounts, payments, the tables and all I collected from the raw database, I'm going and converting the data into a meaningful outcome. I'm making some sort of analytical data storage also by calculating average, sum, max, min, count and all of the payment that customer have made. Payment analytics view I'm creating. Then customer segmentation I'm doing. I'm just going with the segment of the customer. I'm storing this information, which is already available, but I'm doing some analytical functionality. I'm writing some grouping aggregation functionality, storing the aggregated data also in this table. Maybe we can offload this load into a different aggregated table and store also, but I'm making everything in a one flattened table view. Depends upon the organization need, we can do this. Then monthly failed transaction. The status is failed, but monthly, month over month, in each and every year, how much failed transaction we have in our business, customer have made. All this common table expression I'm creating, CT I'm creating, and I'm aggregating or defining all the columns and storing that in a final table. I'm selecting all these columns by joining all the CTs that I have created, the raw table, payments table, transaction table, and the CT tables, whatever I created, applying some filters of where the overdraft percentage is not null, transaction ID is not null, like such kind of things I'm doing. There are some columns I have created as a string data type because originally from the source table we had it as a string data type. Because of that, I'm just doing some casting to make this query run better, right? And I am just running this query to produce the result in this flattened table. This flattened table I'm exposing to my customer for creating dashboards, visualization, analytics, or anything that they wanted to do on this data. All these columns we are deriving, right, to provide them the necessary data set for their purpose of analysis, right? Like this. So this is one SP that we are running to produce the flattened view of the data. This is one SP. One table we are creating ultimately out of this SP with the data what we received from the source. Okay, with me guys in this. So this set of metrics we are creating here. We did not create all the metrics here. So we had few metrics here out of this one SP. Overdraft, foreign currency, low balance, flagged transactions, right? You can see low balance, flagged transactions, excessive prepayment, merchandise payment analysis, right? And transaction by customer segment or monthly failed transactions, all this customer segmentation. These are all the next set of metrics we are creating based on another SP. Okay, Tim? I hope you are good with this, right? One more SP I'm going to run on the same set of tables. Maybe like this, we have a lot of other tables available. You remember? We collected a lot of other tables. We can develop this project to any extent, but we can't go through all the tables and use all the tables for our execution purpose. We have this pipeline to create, we are creating. But this data may be used by a lot of other people in a broader project entirely. Right? We can't recall all this as well. But we are seeing one example of doing all these activities. Other way what I'm doing is I'm creating a table, right? Individual tables by applying or joining with all the other set of tables. I'm not creating one flattened fat table. I'm creating individual tables with joining with the different tables what we have captured, like transaction table, payment table, and account table I'm joining. I'm capturing whether any fraudulent transaction, suspicious transaction happened, which customer, when they made, what transaction, what payment ID, is it suspicious, what is the credit score of the customer, how many events he made in a maybe like a suspicious fashion. So I'm just going to check with this transaction table whether suspicious is true or not from the source they are giving me. I'm going back and forth. So not every customers might have did a suspicious transaction. So I'm using a full outer join to connect with the payments table where they have made a higher transaction, higher suspicious transaction with the account ID joined based on both the tables. I'm telling why I'm casting because of the data type is not matching with both tables. I'm adjusting by casting it. That is a different story. Who are having a lesser credit scores? Also, by the way, I'm just going and doing a full outer join with the accounts table and identifying all the data. Who I'm identifying as a, see here I'm doing suspicious transaction, true directly I'm applying. Some people who have a lesser credit score also I'm considering them as a people who may have a maybe a potential fraud customers or fraud accounts they are maintaining, potential fraud accounts table I'm creating. Then I'm doing a fraud detection on that. So this potential fraud accounts table, you can go and analyze how many customers who are all doing that and all those things. Because I'm using full outer join, some of the data is not eligible, some of the data is not available, but 45,000 and odd records we have in this table. We can correct this and all as per our way, how we use it. Then payment reconciliation. I'm going to generate a reconciliation report of whether the payment made by the customer is validated by using some payment ID between, I'm doing a self join here. The customer have made a payment in different clearing systems. The payment I made, which goes through different clearing system. So one clearing system and another clearing system have equated my payment or not. I'm going to check that. I made one payment, but it went across different clearing systems, Swift clearing system, GBP or whatever the clearing system it is going across. In the bank, there will be multiple clearing systems will be there. For example, I transfer the amount to one person account means it won't go directly to that person account. It will go across multiple systems and reach the final account, right? That is where if we get any fraudulent transaction occurred, we can immediately stop the payment until it reaches the bank account of the respective user. We can stop that by giving the consent to the RBI or whoever, right? So here I'm checking for the different clearing system and the amount moved, whether it is being moved with the right value, the amount whatever I have given, right? The percentage of the difference, what I'm getting. Different dates, the payment is made, that the movement is happened. What is the date difference between the payment made in one system and the other system? And do we have any mismatched amount? Whether the percentage of the amount moved is greater than 1 or greater than 2? Any difference in percentage we arrived here in the amount or in the date where the payment is made between the systems? Then we have a mismatched data. Otherwise, the data is matching. I'm capturing that as a status column in the reconciliation report. So whichever has a status of whatever the wrong, I'm just capturing that maybe this data is not available, it seems. That means the clearing system, non-matching records we may not have even. Okay, so the payment is matching like this. We can have the data derived. We can have the data derived into the tables, respective tables. So if I comment this, with the different payment clearing system, we don't have the data, it seems. So it is not capturing. So otherwise, I can just run this and capture the data into the table. Oh, I'm not able to do any operations of creating new data set or loading data. I'm running the queries, but however, because of the billing problem, what I have still, right? They're not allowing to capture the storage and all for a purpose of they're finding some unwanted transaction because I opened up this to our team members. That's the reason. Okay. Account activity, how the customers are making different account activities in our system, right? in the day after hour, week after hour, how many transactions, what is the average transaction they're making on different period of time. So this data I'm capturing because I want to generate the heat map when more activities are happened in my bank accounts. I'm going to display this as a dashboard with heat maps created. You remember we can create heat maps in our dashboard. You can show red more on the weekends, more on the day of the week of Monday, Tuesday, like this and all. I want to create some heat maps output. High activity, normal activity. Like I'm doing some sort of anomaly detection on where the more activities, less activity happen. This kind of data I'm capturing for displaying in the dashboard by respective users. These are all the requirements I'm keep adding in my SP to derive multiple tables on a regular basis. Portfolio risk calculation I'm doing. Risk aggregation I'm doing. This is called risk aggregation. So accounts and the exchange rate table I'm joining with the currency based on the customer ID, right? I'm performing some sort of calculation to identify the customers are making these kind of the GB pounds and euros and all, how much the transaction they are making, the percentage of transactions they are making. Based on that, I'm calculating the portfolio risk of how many customers are doing a huge volatile transactions, volatile currency transactions, right? And I'm converting that into a US dollar value, portfolio level US dollar value, or the currency values I'm calculating for these kind of currencies. It depends upon the business use. So this is one sort of activity what we are performing and calculating if they are performing huge transactions and the volatility currency share percentage is more than 50, then I'm calling it as a high risk transactions or medium risk or a low risk transactions. Like we are performing couple of activities over here to derive different tables. The fee leakage. Fee leakage is the customers are expected to pay a fee of minimum 0.01 percentage, but how many customers did not pay that much transaction fee from their amount in the transaction fee column? Then I'm identifying those customers as a or those transactions as a leaked transactions. We missed some of the fee collection from the customers. Other is normal. They are making the payment anything more than 0.01 percentage minimum as a fee. Whoever have paid some amount to us as a fee, then we are getting some minimum fee from the customers. Maybe higher fee payment customers might be there, but I'm minimum going with some validation on this. Customer profitability, I'm analyzing how much the profit I'm getting from the customers by they are utilizing the overdraft and all, overdraft utilization and all they are doing with the total transaction fees plus overdraft utilization. I'm using some calculation to calculate the profitability as per by business requirement. Customer who is using overdraft facility, I'm charging them plus the transaction amount I'm charging, and I'm calculating the profitability ratio. The profitability of the customer should be as expected. I'm calculating that and storing this into the profitability table. Then cross-sell opportunities, whichever the customer are having high value transaction perform, those customers I'm deeming as a or average account balance they are maintaining and they are making high value transactions. I'm calculating that over here. If those kind of customers are there, then I'm calculating them as an eligible customers and I'm going to make a call to that customer, giving this information to my call center and they will make the calls. The call centers may use this data or marketing team may use this data. So how the clearance is working, monthly clearance is working, the clearing system performance we are calculating, efficiency we are calculating. So the transaction made and the payment made, what is the days that it is taking, maximum days, minimum days it is taking. This information we are storing for identifying a payment is made, how long it is taking to clear the payment to the end user, to the customers, or overall my bank is doing. This clearing system, which clearing system is doing more better? Swift clearing system or whichever the clearing system that we use in our systems, RTGS or ACS clearing system, how the efficiency is, how long it is taking. Like there are a lot of metrics available in the bank. Why I'm giving this value? Why I'm giving all these metrics to you to make use, to mention in the project, in the when they will explaining the project. I'm not sure whether Bala is attending. I hope Bala you are attending, right? Bala was sharing with almost 12 plus years of experience. He got or he's just about to get multiple offers in pipeline. Okay, so I mean, like he was telling one thing in the call we are having in the last weeks and all. Um, I am, I mean, like I'm explaining the project much well, Irfan. That makes the people impressed and all when I'm attending the interview. Is that correct, Bala? And what other things you are doing, Bala?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I was preparing a lot. So actually, our batch was uh, inspiring a lot when I'm hearing from the offers what they got and how they prepared and the way how they explain the things. So I used to make some of the short notes before preparing for my interview. And yeah, it is going very well. And so the reason, like, you've been a lot of motivation. So that made me to start. And I'm bit like started late. And like others, like I'm almost completed 14 years. So little hesitated. But when I started the first interview, then I started getting the confidence. And yeah, I was able to like it was a challenge, but I was very prepared. I was very confident and with the preparation. And yeah, like the project, I took only one scenario, so I was prepared. And every time, like I built the stories. So what are the source systems? What we are doing exactly? How the pipeline is built. So I relate our learning plus the current project which I was working. So what are the terms where I can use? So I build the stories with that. And I was very more focused on the BB2. BB2 was helping me a lot. So wherever, like, though I have not worked on the Databricks, so I know, like, the first offer for Databricks, like Lakshmi has got, I remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A bit of the course. Then I started looking at the Medallion architecture, and that's where I started building the stories, though I have not worked. And I was very confident telling the Spark concepts clearly. Yeah,
Great,
I'm
great, Bala.
expecting the complete. So I'm happy to share the good news soon. Let's see.
Sure, sure, Bala. So at least 3, 4 offers are in pipeline. Is that correct, Bala?
Yes, very true. Yeah.
Great, great, Bala. I'm waiting for that, right? Just
Even
it
I'm
is
waiting to
it
the
is in a day or
week.
2 days, right?
Yeah, I'm expecting, yeah, in a day or two, mostly on tomorrow or on Wednesday, I should be getting one or two for sure.
Great, great, Bala. Then because the years of 14, right? What you even I told 12, right? But 14 years. I mean, like getting this many offers is not so easy, right? I understood your efforts of how much you might have put, right? And I'm particularly all of a sudden it struck in my mind to tell about you, you know, like because you are telling the project I explained very well, right? I used a lot of these kind of terms and all in the project, right? Technical come the project explanation with all the outcome that you are going to get out of the project, right?
Yeah.
That is where I was bringing, all of a sudden, I was bringing your, whatever you were telling to me, I was just bringing it over here, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Thanks.
fun.
Thanks,
So
Bala.
all because of you, so I was being preparing a lot.
No, Bala.
Yeah.
I mean, like, always it's, I mean, like a pleasure hearing from you guys, right? Getting the offers and taking it forward, right? Rest of all our team members, right? Keep going, right? It's just, I mean, like, if you want to go out of this today, tomorrow somewhere you have to come back, because I know that lot of our people will come back and say, Irfan, at the time I missed. I'm now again seeing the pressure towards entering into something which is going towards the market, right? So that opportunity, you guys don't leave and go, just leverage it. Like Bala is one of the little example for that, right? So I wanted you guys to do that.
Yeah, so one thing is like we have to determine strong. So we have to choose like what to do. And once you are determined, so we will get that momentum. So even Irfan told like, so go with that momentum. That made me to attend some of the interviews. Even the Saturday one Cognizant have attended. So that made me say, like I waited for a long time. Then I was very confident going there. Then I attended.
Great,
Yeah.
Bala. Great. Yes, Sanjay, that is true. Sanjay have joined, by the way, the company, very good company, top-notch company. Okay. He was being pulled by two companies, right? Which Bala, even I was telling to Bala also the same. Like one of our team member have been literally pulled by the company where you got the offer. So they will not leave you so easily once they give you the offer by Monday or Tuesday. So we'll discuss, we'll connect, guys. Okay. We'll connect
Yeah.
Sanjay, Bala and that, right? Okay, guys. So this is one pipeline, which is an obvious pipeline that we use, right? Ultimately to have the data, right? The second pipeline, right? Which is a,
One more thing, Irfan, I would like
yeah, Abdul.
to add up something here.
Yeah, Abdul.
Being in the banking industry, the way you did the conceptual modeling and literally the tables and the OLTP, how the correlated, right, end to end, right? So right
Yeah.
from beginning source to the end, this is how typically it is an implementation. Maybe they may have thousands of tables in the, in the source actually, but conceptually this is the same, and it really well connected to the business functions actually. Whatever the
Right.
banking, I don't know whether you created or it's a replication of the exact project, but literally this will be the use case actually. So the overdraft limit, all those things you're saying, right? One of the Wells Fargo implementing the use case actually for fraudulent crime, and literally they
Mm-hmm.
are using the statement for showing whether the proofing actually, whether they are billed correctly. Each of the credit
Mm-hmm.
card statement, right? They
Mm-hmm.
generate and do the use case, whatever you said, they are checking whether the system generated statement is a right statement or not. Okay.
Great. Great.
Technically, the use case is the same actually. So there is no doubt, like, the project, whatever you're explaining it, this is the actual implementation in the industry. And also this is being in the banking sector. Yes, I like this project actually. Yeah.
Great. Great,
Thank you,
Abdul.
Irfan. Yeah, yeah,
Great.
yeah.
I hope you are doing very good in your current role,
Yeah,
this new role and all what you're
things
doing,
have
right?
been changed, Irfan. No, not really. I would like to, be in the data engineering, Databricks, GCP or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a time being only Power BI and Data IQ, I'm working on.
Yeah. 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 See,
But
whichever, right? Whichever you
otherwise,
say,
conceptually same.
yeah, yeah,
Raw
yeah.
layer,
Correct.
curated layer, everything, is same actually.
Right.
Snowflake, we are using Snowflake. That's it. Yeah.
Great. Great. So Snowflake and BigQuery, you don't find a much difference, right? Is that correct? Almost
Mm,
the environment wise, query wise, all the things.
yes, 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 Irfan. Yeah, yeah.
Because I will be helping some one of my relative
Mm,
who is working in Snowflake.
mm.
I see mostly looks similar actually. So these environments are look similar altogether. So
Correct, correct.
the thing is, you have to say one word called I'm in the data. That's it,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Rest
Yeah.
of all, it's okay. Like you can able to catch up all this and all at any point of time, right? So ultimately, if you know how to imagine the data, right, that is the need actually. So data has that many opportunities, you might have seen, right? Even when you enter into this new company, you are also in a very good company, one of the top notch company, right? Very good growing company. You might be realizing that, right, how they are playing with the data.
Yeah, Irfan. Yeah, yeah. See, it's massive actually. The use
Yeah.
cases and all, whatever we see, piece by piece, are verticals for me. They have a
Yeah.
practice actually.
Right.
So, like
Right.
if you take the data analytics, ML, all those things are practice. But however, these use cases, when we say in the interview, right, that really helps. It is not only like if we say like we are enabling the data for the ML or data science, what they are doing actually. So that is also one of the things we have to, express. This is the use case, and technically they may do something else. At least functionally, if you are able to explain it, then people can understand. Okay, this is the right practice. People have come from. Right, so that is the level of confidence and the trust we need to build actually, and it is good you have the other areas of covering other areas of the LLM, all those things, you have explained, right?
So you go and see that last project session, the project session number 1. I covered this. It was very much an interesting one actually. So because I was looking for some use case to show you guys in this, so I was thinking about how I can show that. It was a, like you were telling, right, hey, Irfan, how and all these use cases you have captured, because I put lot of groundwork for doing this. If you ask me to create a project, I'll take 1 week or 2 weeks to create that. But this one I wanted to really give you guys in a better visualization, in a better way to express and better way to make use of this. Rather than fully concentrating on the core technical, I wanted to mix and match both and give in a proper proportion of how it is being used in a wider way. This project I wanted to build in that way. So definitely make use of this projects, guys. Not only for applying in a banking domain, you can apply this in the other domain also, as I told you earlier, right? Think about it. Just, I did not work in banking domain at all in my lifetime, okay, so far. But I was just thinking about the different things, what at least we do it in other domains like telecom or logistics or manufacturing or media domain and all. I worked across mainly financial domain and all, but not in the pure banking domain I worked actually. But
it doesn't look like that, Irfan.
yeah, true. But the thing is, other than some of this overdraft we may be using in our real life, right? But other than that, these and all applicable for other domains also. We do suspicious activities performed by our customers in the network side. Customer segmentation we do. Merchandise payment made by the third party systems to our system we see. So all this can be correlated with my system and I created, in fact, by referring something related to, is it applicable or not, I validated. I was just thinking about some of the points to use and I validated this along with the other side of the banking system. Then I materialized some of them, not all of them, right? So even we do reconciliation, payment reconciliation, we'll do in our telecom domain as well. Cross-sell, upsell, all the opportunities we used to see, right? So great, thanks for bringing all those, Abdul. So everybody of our team members can understand that as well, right? This is how it is happening, right? Let me move forward. The third or the second pipeline I'm just about to talk with you guys is, we know, like always we see this, right? We'll go to the api.randomuser.me or ME, where we get this data from the external REST API system, where you think like this, right? Some customers are performing some operations across the world. Across the world, they are accessing our web portals or accessing our system, right? That data we are enabling via web API. Some third-party companies or our company itself having a web API enabled data available in a real-time fashion. How many customers are visiting what page of our websites, or how many customers are calling our call center currently? Anything you can consider. Even how many customers are making payments or transactions currently in real time. I'm capturing that information via an API call, or via API I'm exposing this data. Some system is exposing in our organization. I'm going and talking with them, and I'm going to perform a real-time data ingestion to our Bigquery table ultimately to generate some real-time dashboard out of that. So for that, we are going to have a data flow pipeline created, data flow template pipeline created. See, earlier what we did, we went to data flow. We went and created a data flow template, or we went and used an existing template. We just created one template to say template number 1. to read maybe like BigQuery data, write it into maybe like pubsub, or vice versa, or read from API, write to pubsub. Pubsub is like Kafka messaging system. Already there is a list of templates provided by our Dataflow tool, but we have an option to create custom template. We can go and say, I wanted to mention a custom template which I created, and I wanted to run that custom template job. Custom template means what? We have to develop a Dataflow template separately, and we have to attach that over here to get it run, which is not provided by the default Dataflow environment. So there are a lot of default templates are available. We can directly use it. I want to pull the data from my database and write it into BigQuery in a real-time fashion. I wanted to connect to MongoDB, pull the data and write it into BigQuery. Right? A lot of opportunities we have here to make use of the built-in templates. But I have a particular requirement. What is that, I wanted to get the data from the REST API, and I wanted to publish the data to the pubsub topic. Maybe the data that the REST API is providing me contains a lot of attributes. I don't want all the attributes to be published to my pubsub topic. I wanted very specific attributes. Some personal information that I'm collecting, I don't want to publish to the pubsub topic, which may be consumed by outsiders, which may be consumed by my different team members, by different teams, different organization teams. I don't want to take that and all like this if I feel, or I wanted to do some customization on the data that I'm receiving. Basically, if I use a direct built-in templates, it will go and take the data directly from the API and write it into our whatever the maybe like data storage layer. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to perform that operation. Or there is no direct BigQuery or Dataflow job is available to perform a real-time data ingestion to our pubsub topic, getting the data from the API. I'm going to create one particular template for doing that. So that is the point here, what I'm just going to do. Okay, so I have developed one Dataflow template using Apache Beam. So Apache Beam is like a competitor or an alternative solution of our Apache Spark. So Google is promoting Apache Beam engine. We have Apache Spark engine that is running in the other side. So as like Apache Spark, we have Apache Beam available in the Google side. What Google is telling, we promote our Apache Beam. We take Apache Beam as our core component, and we are promoting that Apache Beam for our real-time streaming pipelines and all. The data flow is integrated with Apache Beam pipelines in the background. So like how we use Apache Spark to use the RDDs in the background to get created and perform some operations on the data in a parallel and in a distributed fashion. The same way, the Beam engine is being used by Dataflow to perform real-time streaming operations or batch pipeline operations. So we are going to use Apache Beam as an engine to implement the data pipeline for fetching the data continuously from the random user API and publish the data to the pubsub topic. Very simply, we are going to do this operation. By performing some operations on the data that we receive, we are going to write it into the pubsub topic. This is the one what we are going to develop here by purely using Python programming, because we need Python programming to be used over here to perform that operation. Okay, this is not a familiar one for us, but there are some opportunities we are getting in the organizations to perform this data flow pipeline operation with the help of Python or some other language programming like Java or Scala language programming. Python is one of the known language for us. we are going to use the Python programming to achieve that. There is nothing we are going to do big here. We are going to make use of the existing framework. The framework we can able to learn by knowing Spark already. We already know Spark, so we can directly learn this framework with no time, right? Because of we know Spark framework already. We can relate with Spark RDD, we can relate with Spark data frame, and we can able to learn this very easily. Okay, so in that aspect, we are going to call a function called run or whatever the run pipeline or whatever the function that I have created over here, right? I'll go and show you guys running this as well. I'm going to define the project ID, the topic name where I wanted to push this data into, fetching the data from the REST API in a continuous fashion. I'm going to fetch the data from this REST API. Continuously, I'm going to get different data sets from this REST API, and I'm going to publish this data to the pubsub topic. That is what we are going to see now, right now. So which pubsub topic or which project and which pubsub topic I want to publish this data, that information I'm collecting over here primarily. Then I'm going to use a class called pipeline options class. I'm instantiating that class in the form of an object, which is provided by Beam. Beam is Apache Beam is providing us a configuration class called pipeline options class, where we can go and define in this object all the parameters that is required for running my or developing my data flow pipeline very simply. So we are going to use options dot the standard option dot runner. The runner has to be what? I wanted to run this particular pipeline in the direct my local environment, or I wanted to run it in the remote data flow environment. In the cloud, I want to run this, or I want to run it in my local. That I can decide based on keeping this value here. Direct runner or data flow runner I can define. If I change this to data flow runner, the job will be submitted in the remote cloud. If I keep it as a direct runner, it will be running in my local. Okay, I'm going to show you guys running this. Then, whether I wanted to run a streaming or a batch job, I can mention. What is a project? What is the location where this particular data flow pipeline has to be used for keeping this objects or this code base and everything, and where the data has to be staged in the intermediate level. All this information I'm providing as per the minimum requirement. Which region it has to run, all those I mentioned. Then this particular options I'm going to pass as an argument to the pipeline class provided by Beam, Apache Beam. The Apache Beam have a class called pipeline class. This pipeline class will help us create a pipeline, like first generate some events, generate some continuous events, second by second, 5 events or 10 events, 5 times you go and connect to the REST API and call the data, or 500 times you go and pull the data from the REST API, 50 times you pull the data from the REST API. Like this, I can mention how many maximum events I wanted to get from this or using this particular job, how frequent I wanted to get. 1 second once, 10 seconds once, or whatever I can mention. So for that, I created one function here, periodic event generator function. So using this, first I'm going to create a periodic impulse to the API. So this is the starting point of our pipeline. I'm going to create one pipeline to say what, first go and reach the API, pull the data, or first you go and create some list of the numbers starting with a range of 1 to 100 or 1 to 50 or whatever. And for each and every iteration, you go and call the pardo function. Pardo function is one of the major function or one of the class which contains or which can be used to call a function, like how we go and run our RDD program to do some parallel operation to collect the data. So the pardo means parallel do operation. It's like the RDD transformation that we do. So we can use RDD transformation to go and collect the data, go and perform some transformations on the data, and we go and store the data into the final storage, right? That is what we are doing here. So we are first creating how many number of events we wanted, how many times this part do has to loop, and what operation we are supposed to perform in this parallel do operation. Then where we have to emit this data, write this data as a final output. So we are very simply creating a pipeline in the Beam using the Apache Beam. I just mentioned all the way of what we are doing here. I'm just defining a context manager. Context manager means you use in DAG and all in our this thing and all, the Airflow DAG and all, with the package.class of the arguments that I pass, whatever the options that I defined here, I'm passing. I'm defining an object called pipeline object. I'm creating one object. I'm creating one object by instantiating this class called pipeline. Then I'm telling what, hey, this pipeline object, you go and generate some sequence of events, sequence of timestamp based array of elements. For each and every array of elements, so first I'm telling what, generate a periodic P collection, we used to call it as. P collection means like an RDD, we have multiple elements kept in a list, right? This is called the collections of values. We call it as a P collection. So if you are going to talk about, I know how to create a data flow job in a custom fashion, first you have to say, I'll create a P collection. I create a P collection with how many number of list of values I wanted. I'm going and collect or creating a P collection by using this periodic event generator function, where I'm telling second by second, 10 times maximum events you go and generate. Create a list of 10 elements and return that element to the calling environment. Like this, I'm generating a list of events in the first activity. So it generates a list of 50 elements or 10 elements and keep it in a list. That is the first activity I'm telling. Then I'm telling what? Hey, for each and every element, each and every seconds, you go and hit the REST API by using the par-do function, parallel do operation you perform. I'm going to tell now, you go and use that each and every element of the P collection, each and every element in the list, you go and iterate, you run a loop and collect the data from the REST API, hit the REST API and collect the data, apply the transformation function, what I wrote inside this function, you go and apply that function. Like this, I'm telling in this fetch random user data operation, where I'm telling do the operation of, do the functionality of, I'm just instantiating or I'm overriding this class, or I'm just doing an inheritance of this class. Already in the Beam pipeline, in the Beam library, in the Apache Beam library, they have some class called do function class, do fn class. That class I'm leveraging, I'm inheriting by creating one more class called fetch random user data class. And I'm having a function overridden internally in this class. There is a function called process function is available. I'm going to use that process function to perform some operation of going and talking to the REST API, collect the data, keep it in the response value, and going and checking whether the collect is happened properly, whether I get the data from the REST API properly with the status code of 200. Then I'm converting that into a JSON format. Then I'm taking the data kept in this list of the elements that we received from the source, taking only that value as a user info data. Then I'm capturing the gender, location, and the coordinates value, storing it in some variables, creating it as a final message in a JSON format. And out of that entire data, I'm only interested in the gender, location, city, state, and country, coordinates, latitude, longitude, position. I'm returning that data back. I'm yielding that data back in an iterative fashion to the calling environment as a JSON data in a UTF-8 encoded format. So this fetch random data class, what I'm inheriting or what I'm maybe like doing as an inheritance operation on the par-do class, will be returning the random data. That data I'm passing as an argument to the next pipe to write it into the pubsub. I'm having some function called I imported a class in the Python called pubsub, write to pubsub class from the Apache Beam library. So Apache Beam has to talk with pubsub means I'll use a built-in program for that, a class for that. So I'm calling that class to say what, hey, in this project, in this using this connection, using this topic name and all what I derived in the top, go and write the data to the pubsub topic. Ultimately, what I'm supposed to see when I run this program is, this program has to go and generate maybe how many number of events I mentioned here, 10 events or 20 events, whatever I mentioned here, or I passed as an argument here. If I don't pass the argument, it will take 10. Otherwise, it will take my value, what I'm passing, when I call that function. So that many number of events you go and get from the source, get from the API source, once in a 1 second interval, and you go and perform the operation of, you first collect the seconds, 1 second once interval of 50 elements you create as a P collection. Then pass that P collection to the pardo function, parallel do class, where fetch random user data function I'm going to use to, or class I'm going to use to instantiate a process function. That process function will take care of iterating 50 times or whatever the number of times as per the whatever the P collection that I have created in the previous state, the previous pipe. I pass that as an argument to the next one by using pipe, right? Collect the data and transform the data or perform some extraction of only few elements in that entire message. As per the logic I wrote, I will write all my blah blah logic here. Then push this data, whatever you got from the previous iteration, to the pubsub topic. This is how we used to write the data flow templates. So this template I wanted to run now. I don't want to use my cloud data flow runner. I want to run it in my local. So what I can do, I can go to my VM. I can go to my VM. I have provided you guys this workouts documentation also. Maybe you can see this. The workouts documentation, where I did all the G Cloud init and all these things and all the JSON key activation, project setting, all the things I did. Just I have to do what? I have to install Apache Beam in my VM, right? I have to go and set these properties, the JSON key values and all. Then I can do what, I can go and run this job in the local runner first of all. So I'm going to run this in my local. So what it is going to do now, in using my local computer resource, it is going to generate that many number of P collections. You can see here that many number of P collections it is creating, and it is hitting the REST API. No. Though I'm passing it as a data flow runner, I hard coded in our code with only this one, right? I'm having some network issue or what? I'm not sure. So I'm not able to hit to my api.randomuser.me. Why? Okay, I'm having some problem hitting this api.randomuser.me. I'll do one thing. I'll reboot my VM. In the meantime, I can say what I'm going to keep this code. See, this is one way. One way. One is I can go and run this job from my local even. Like this, I can go and run the job by passing all the necessary parameter. Or I'll go and say, you go and create this job.py file as a this thing, the template in our data flow environment, in our data flow environment in this staging location. In this temp location, in this staging location, you can go and create our template as job1 hyphen temp or job2 hyphen temp or whatever I can tell. So you can go and see in the data flow workouts templates, whatever I have here, I can go and import that manually by creating it as a template and uploading it over there. So custom template I can do. I can say data flow workouts or whatever, where we got the templates created and we can go and run this as a job. We can run it from our local, this job. Okay. The permission is not there. It is telling to the template that is okay. So we can go and run this job here itself by directly to uploading the job to that Python program. We can convert it to a template by running this command. Create a template file with the Python code, whatever we developed. By this way, we can do actually. But what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to use my hard-coded local runner in the code what I had. From my local, I'm going to run this. So all I need is what? I got to run this code to collect the data from the REST API and publish it into the pubsub topic. That's the only thing I wanted to do. All of a sudden, why it is coming like this? Connection refused. Network is unreachable. Okay, so okay, so I'll show you like what will happen if I do this operation, right? So this job, whatever I created from there, maybe it is not allowing me to create because of the billing account, but whatever the job that I have created there can be reflected there as a template. So from our local, if I'm trying to run, it is not able to hit the api.randomuser.mv for some reason, a strange issue that I'm seeing today, right? But however, What happens, we can go and see in the topic that we created in pubsub, we can see some data that is pushed to this topic. So I can go and pull and see the data that got pushed to this topic. So when it happened? At 9 p.m. today. 9 p.m. Jan 11, 9 p.m. Yesterday, I just pushed some data for validation purpose and all. It got the data what we expected. You see here, this data. This data was able to be returned with the latitude, longitude, and the gender value and all the values, street and all the values. I was able to get the data into my pubsub topic. So I was pushing and seeing this, or pulling and seeing this data, which got returned in different time period, multiple numbers. Because of my data flow is not able to run, or it is running actually, but it is not pushing because of some network connection issue that we had. Okay, let it be. So, but you understood this way we can able to perform the data flow run operation to collect the data, to perform any sort of operations into our pubsub topic like this, what we are seeing here. We developed a maybe like a template for data flow by using our Beam engine, by using some P collection and the pardo functionalities and all. And we hit the REST API multiple times, 10 times or 20 times. We tested our job in our local by running a local runner. And we have exported that as a template by running this syntax, where we are doing a template export operation by mentioning a Python, this functionality we are running to export our code, whatever we developed, job 1 or job 2 that we developed, to this temporary location as a template we are exporting. The template we can import in our direct web GUI also to run the job, or we can run the template by using this command also. We can run the template by using this gcloud command also. Gcloud data flow, run data flow, run the job of data flow, job name of whatever we created as a template. From this GCS location, all this we can mention as well. So the job can be triggered to run in our data flow environment. So what it will do, the job will go and collect the data from the API with any number of P collections we can mention. You create 10,000 events, 1 lakh events or unlimited events, and go and second by second pull the data from the or get the timestamp P collections created, and each and every timestamp you go and pull the data from the API, hitting the API by using the class whatever we created, process the data, store the data to the pubsub. Then in the pubsub, what we do, we will see that data in the pubsub. Just to realize, yes, our code is working fine. We are able to push the data. Yesterday night, I was able to push the data. Now I have some problem. Then we can go and create on top of the topic. We can create a subscription. We can go and create a subscription to say what, hey, some subscription like pubsub to BQ table. We are going to say what very simply, hey, just go and take the data from the pubsub topic and write it into the Bigquery table. In our unified data lake environment, we have some Inceptez raw data set. Write it into a table called TBL1 or whatever. Directly what happens? When this data flow pull the data from the API, it will write it into the pubsub. From the pubsub, automatically the data will be pushed to the Bigquery. Then the dashboard can be created to visualize the data from the Bigquery table. We can able to see how many customers are performing the activities in different part of the world. Maybe my API is not working for some reason from my VM to show you this. We can write it to whatever the supportive pubsub to BigQuery related, maybe subscription that it supports. So we can write it to cloud storage, we can write it to BigQuery for now. If you want to write it into Spanner like what Sanjay is asking, we have to go and use the data flow job we have to develop to write to Spanner, or we have to see, is there any opportunity we have in the data flow to take the data from the pubsub to spanner. That we can create it as a template here. We can use the existing template also here. So spanner, if you mention, yes, it will show you what are all the spanner options we have. Cloud Spanner change stream to BigQuery, or BigQuery to Cloud Spanner, or data, I mean like PubSub to Cloud Spanner. All these options if we have, we can use, or we have to use our own custom data flow template. Right? Right? So you got some idea, like we can do this kind of pipeline creation by literally creating a pipeline from our side. Our pipeline is working fine. The only problem is it is not able to hit the REST API for some reason. That is one new thing that I'm finding. I did not see this so far. Our API will be work like anything. You know that. But this is the first time we are getting this. So data flow workouts. So I'll be running this workout means it was giving me some problem to run this Python 3 job. Let me try once again. So the pre-collection is getting created for different timestamps. Hitting the REST API by using our function is not working because of some network is unreachable issue. Let it be. Okay. Fine, guys. This is one another flow which you guys can consider as a real-time streaming flow for bringing the data to our BigQuery table in a continuous fashion. The last one is, let me go with this for another 10 to 15 minutes and we'll close this. Okay. The last one is, we are going to provide the data to our AIML team, our data science team, for building model, a prediction model, linear regression model on top of the data. So where is that note I have? Okay. Here, I just created a document related to that. I'll upload these documents and all for your reference in the PPT itself, so you can have this document referred there. So this is not our ball game to play, actually speaking. Keep that in your mind. We are not going to learn how we are going to apply the linear regression model, how the linear regression model works, right? How we are going to train the model, how we are going to test the model, how we are going to evaluate the model, how we are going to take the output of the predicted output and display that in the visualization. Maybe we can do as a visualization engineer or as a data analyst. That is okay. But how our data is being used for predicting something is the one we are going to understand. How our data is being used by the data scientists. We put a lot of effort on bringing this data. We put a lot of effort of calculating cross-sell, customer profitability, customer information data and all. We put effort of bringing this data and all to our BigQuery layer. The data scientists are doing very simply leveraging the built-in libraries, built-in formulas, built-in algorithms, algos, they used to call it as. They are applying the algorithms to derive or perform some prediction and all these other activities. Right? That is what we are going to see as a third pipeline, one more pipeline. So basically, we are going to create a table. We are going to create a table called customer AIML table. And we are going to expose this data to our AIML team, data science team. What data we are going to create? A regular data that we have seen in our earlier use cases, right? We are just applying some queries as per the need of our business, as per the need of our data science team. So Okay, so I'm creating a table by running some set of queries towards the cross-sell opportunities table, which we derived. You remember by using this pipeline, we derived the tables, right? This pipeline we ran to collect the data using Spark and put it into Bigquery. Then we ran the SPs to load the data into this table with the customer segmentation, cross-sell opportunities, and all those customer information we captured, right? The events information we captured, right? That table, the customer raw table, and the customer profitability table, whatever we created, we are going to join based on all these tables and capturing the customer-wise transactions, account balances, and profitability. We are capturing all this data as per the data science requirement, data science team requirement, where they wanted these features. They will call it as a feature column. Features means not future, feature. Feature means the value column they will be asking from us to provide. So based on the total transactions, based on the balance, the profitability, they will be calculating what is the prediction, what is the predicted profitability. For this customer, what is the profit I can predict? So like this, they are going to generate a prediction dashboard. They're going to generate some dashboard based on the transaction fees, how much they paid, based on that, how much profitability, or based on the profit what already the customer have made. In the future, how much these customers are going to, in a future date of March 2025, today is January. In the future date of February or March or January 29 or whichever the date, how much this particular customer that I'm going to consider, or the particular customer I'm targeting, to give me a profit ratio. So the profitability what he have so far given to me is $10,844. But what is the expected profitability that this customer is going to make in another 20 days to my business? Is the model is predicting and giving you the value as 11,081 rupees, almost nearly, or dollars, nearly 200 or 150, $160 they are giving me as a profit. But some customers I'm finding, the profit is lesser than, the predicted profit is lesser than the actual profit. Actual profit I have 832, but the predicted value is getting reduced because he is going to make some lesser transaction, or he is going to have some of the values removed from his account or whatever, based on the model that I trained. So this prediction we are going to do in a dashboard to know the future data, not the current data. Current data we can generate as a report and see. Future data we are going to predict by using linear regression model. We are going to do a regression model to get that output. So how we are going to do that? First, we are loading this data. We are not getting this data just like the cross-sell opportunities, profitability tables and all. We created by putting lot of data engineering efforts. And we are ultimately loading this data into a table called AIML table or whatever, artificial intelligence machine learning table, giving that to the consumer who is a data science team. They are going to apply lot of things on top of this data as a model pipeline they are going to create. That is what we are going to see, what they are going to do. So let's go and see this documentation. You will get some clarity, a better clarity on this. So we are going to first train the model with the historical data, right? We are going to give some existing data given to the data science model, what Google have built in the name called linear regression model in their library, in their Bigquery library. And we are going to train the model by telling, hey, some customers who have an account balance like this and profitability this much they made and fees and all they might have paid like this, means this is the profit I'm getting from this kind of customers. So if same kind of pattern of data if you receive, you predict this is how this customer is going to give me the profit as well. Based on the existing data, you learn and you go and apply that on the future data, apply that on the other set of data, and identify the pattern how the data is going to be using some formula. You remember we learned in our school days, college days, y is equal to mx plus c. We plot in the graph by using this y is equal to mx plus c. Remember, guys? That y is equal to mx plus c formula, this model is going to apply in the background. Linear regression formula they are going to apply to predict the data, the profit ratio, how much we are going to get. Not our ball game, not our consideration here, but just I'm taking a quick opportunity to show you guys how data science people will be working. What is the connection between the data engineer and the data scientist? I'm just showing you as an opportunity here, right? So the historical data, we take some 20% of the data as a test data and give it for the model to get trained. Out of 1 lakh records, I'll give 20,000 records for the model to understand and get trained. Then I'll go and ensure the model is good in the, first of all, I'll give the entire data and ask the model to train. Then I'll give 20% of the model, the data to test whether the model is working as I expected. Then go and ask the model to evaluate whether the actual data is applied with the proper predicted value or not. Then I'm going to say, hey, do the future prediction of so-and-so date for another 1 month or whatever. So we are going to use a linear regression model. When we see the pipeline, you'll be understanding. We are going to say, hey, use the existing linear regression model on the profitability column as a target variable. Target variable means what? A label variable means what? This is the column I wanted to predict. How much profit I'm going to get next. And use these columns, the features like total transaction fees and the balance the customer have in the account as a feature column, as an input variables. Using these values, you predict this value. Like this I'm telling very simply. So it will apply some formula, y is equal to mx plus c, where y is the dependent value or dependent variable and x is the independent variable. That means what? The y is going to act like a profitability variable. It will store the profitability value. It will hold the, it will be the predicted profitability, what we are seeing in the dashboard, right? The predicted profitability, what we are seeing here in the dashboard. What is the profit that is predicted for customer value we are going to derive? So y is equal to mx plus c is the formula applied to calculate what is the predicted profitability based on the two columns. The independent variables of total transaction fees is one variable, one feature. Account balances is another feature. In the organization, as a data engineer, I'll go and tell, hey guys, I'll be giving you the features what you guys are expecting. We'll give you the features. We'll give you the dependent and the independent variable values and all by running our pipeline. Wait for a while, we'll run our pipeline and give you the data what you expected. We don't call it as a data we provide. We say we provide you the features. We call it as a feature. Okay? Features we are going to provide you. So the independent variables of whatever the columns that is going to decide this predicted profitability, the y will be calculated based on the x. Plus some sort of like interceptor or some sort of like adjustments values for making this predicted value more better will be used. And we'll be having some coefficient value for this x added. This value will be added with some plus or minus value as a coefficient to provide y to create a linear chart. Create a maybe like an x value and the y value will be ultimately creating a linear chart of day by day or customer by customer, how I'm going to increase or decrease the value based on the independent variables that I'm using based on the other features that I'm using. So if the transaction fees and the account balances varies, right, the coefficient value will be calculated. The interceptor value will be added or reduced with the coefficient value applied for this total transaction fees and the account balances by applying the internal formula. The model knows how to apply this. We don't have to worry too much on this. And it provides the predicted profitability value. This formula it will apply in the internal side, which could be a black box for us. We don't have to worry on this actually. This is where we are going towards the model. But we wanted to see the model output in the future. I want to see after 1 week how much this customer is going to give me a profit. That is linear graph I'm creating, linear regression graph I'm creating. For that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a model table. So first I'm creating an AIML table and giving the table to the customer, to my data science team. What they are going to do, they are going to apply the linear regression model using the data what I have provided to them. So this data they are going to use, whatever I provided to them. And they are going to create a model table, create or replace model table. They are creating profitability model table using linear regression methodology by using the profitability column as a target variable. I want to achieve a target of profitability based on these columns and all, the total transaction fees and account balances, the number column it will consider. This columns and all you use and make the profitability prediction captured on the model table. Like this I'm telling. Then I got a model table. I'm going to create some sample data, some 20% of the data I'm going to get to give it to the model for testing. Whether the model, whatever I created based on this base table is working fine or not, I wanted to test it. Or I want to give some data to that model for testing the model, for training the model and for testing the model. So testing of the model will be done with 20% of data. So I'm creating 20% of data in a table. And I'm going to give this test data table for the model table, whatever we created, to apply the prediction algorithm based on the test data, whatever I provided. 20% of data I'll provide him to identify what is the predicted profitability on the 20% of data. If a customer having a total transaction fees and account balance of so and so, I give you only 20% of the data to the model to identify what is the predicted profitability out of that. Then I'm going to say, evaluate that model by using mean square algorithm or whatever the algorithms and all. This is more towards evaluating the model, whatever the model that we have created is providing the right result or not, based on the values what we received out of this, the mean square values and all. We'll be going and identifying the quality of the output, how the model is providing. We use some evaluate function to do that. Forget about this part. I did it for my check whether it is working fine or not. Then finally, I'm going to say what for a date range, for a future date of 3 months, 3 months date range you create, prediction date as additional column you add. For a date range of 3 months, you go and use my data, applying on this model, the original data, whatever we have, right? Apply on that model. We can even take 80% of the data out of that, or entire data we are giving. On the entire data, you apply the model, whichever we have trained already by giving 20% of data. Can you apply this data, the actual data on the model table, and predict the score, predict the profitability metrics, and give me as a predicted profitability column. So by that way, what happened? I'm going and running this query finally on the model table using my actual table by passing the actual data to the model, whatever we created, which got already trained with 20% of data, which got already evaluated, right? I'm going to say, tell, hey, please give me the predicted result. Please give me the predicted result. Like this, I'm telling. For another 3 months, not only for current data or whatever. Predict and give me for next 3 months how much this customer is going to make the profitability. So for the date of another 3 months from now, it is generating this much volume of output. For the next 3 months, this particular customer on 12th date, 13th date, and so on, the original profitability is this much, and this is the expected future profitability. Like this, we can see this prediction happened. This prediction will be maybe like tuning the model to get a better result and all subsequently. That is a different story. For every customer whoever I have, 13th, 14th, and all the dates we can able to see. Maybe this can be displayed in a better dashboard. Profitability prediction dashboard and the transaction fees and the profitability dashboard. For the transaction fees of this much, what is the profit I got? I'm just going to correlate the data between and with the account balance of this much the customer has. This is another dashboard not related to the model, but it is a outcome of whatever the work that we did earlier. As an analyst, data analyst, or as an analytical person, I will be building this kind of dashboard. As a data scientist, I will ask the analytical person to build this kind of dashboard on the model output table. Here, the model output table we used. Here, we use the direct tables to produce the output. Again, I'm telling, this is not our ball game. How the linear regression works, how we are evaluating, how we are predicting, how we are creating a model, why we are creating a model table, nothing is our worry. We are applying the model and creating a model. Then we are applying that on the real data and predicting the value, what we really needed. We are performing the real prediction here. ML.predict operation we are performing to predict the model, predict the data applying into this model, and we are getting the predicted result of the predicted profitability value. Then we are plotting that in the visualization and showing the output to our executives or whoever. This dashboard we are creating. Hope you got something new today, guys. Agree? Something in a connected way, the end-to-end connected way, you got some idea today. Because you may be working with different stakeholders. We have to know what they are doing out of our data. With me, team? With this, we can say this project we can finalize now. If I do any upgrade on this project, I'll share that to you guys as well. But for now, I'll be providing you these recordings of both. I know like a lot of people have missed the today's session. I will be sharing that video. Please go through, guys, in your free time on all this. And I'll documents and all in this project itself and provide you as well. So by that way, it will be easy for you to refer the code base and everything, right? In here itself, I'll provide. I provided in the way earlier also. Maybe I'll provide you in that way here also. You can make use of it. Okay, the entire documentation I'll upload in our drive. Make use of it, guys. Okay, any questions? Right? Yes. Previous video, I hope I shared in our this thing, in our that one URL sheet we have, right? I shared already. I hope so. Let me check. Otherwise, I'll share. This video also I'll share mostly by tomorrow. And we are done, guys, with our almost learning. I just hope I have provided you this also in a complete way. We will take it forward and feel free to connect with me if you guys have any requirement. I know Kuman and I'm still again have to connect with you. We can connect maybe in the upcoming weeks. Okay, maybe Pongal days and all we have, right, on Wednesday and all we can connect. Okay, keep going, guys. Keep move. I mean, like market is providing lot of opportunities. I mean, like think about all this, right? The time, the health, the knowledge, and then the wealth. These 4 factors are very important factors in our life, right? How we are going to balance all these 4, right? By gathering knowledge, we can get all the 3 met with each other. If we always the 3 will not be meeting with each other. Agree, guys? Time, wealth, and health. We could not able to get all the 3 together. Anybody in this world you can consider. Whoever is getting all the 3 at the same time is the happiest person in this world, I could say, right? Primarily health, secondarily the time, tertiarily the wealth, right? All the 3 if we get, we are the happiest person. So how we can get all the 3 with the 4th factor, that is the knowledge, right? So try to gather, guys. Try to gather and keep going, guys. We'll meet in a maybe like in a later point of time. Whenever you guys are coming with some good news or any support you needed, feel free to reach me, bug me, right? That's what I always say. Thank you for all your time, guys. Thank you for attending today. If you don't have any more questions, we'll wind up today. Keep going, guys. I want to see you guys sometime later with a lot of maybe like growth. Okay. When I was pinging some of our team members, I feel very happy. Like one of our team member recently, I pinged. She was sending a resume and asking me to review one of my old batch member. I was asking her, you are looking for some opportunity. I can check like that and all in some of the companies. She's already into the big data platform. She wanted to switch. She's already in a very good company even again. Whichever the company our friend Sanjay have joined, right? That company she's already into. I was asking why you are looking for the change and all, or you are looking for a change like this when I was asking. She's telling, no, Irfan, I'm in US now. I wanted to look here, some change, some job change and all. So the thing is like, I was happy to see, oh, you are in US, you went to US, great, right? She's into this big data platform. So the thing is, opportunities are hugely available, guys. If you manipulate it properly in all the aspect, in the recent time, I was just doing all these studies, right? Not only in the technical side, I was studying these 4 things to manage it more better. So see if you can also study something on this, right? Like right thing at the right time, getting it is a very big deal, you know. So think about it. Getting the better health, getting the better time to spend with our family, to spend personally, and to get the good wealth and the knowledge. With the knowledge, we can achieve all the 3. With the smart knowledge and the hard knowledge, what we apply, we can get all the 3, right? I just I'm in some diet and all to reduce my weight because it extended more than 107, 104 I was into. So now I again came back to 104 now by having 1 week of strict diet, GM diet and all. And I'm looking towards maybe like balanced diet kind of things and all. Okay, I'm doing a lot of study towards that. One is towards the health and another is towards the time, how I can manage efficiently. I can spend with my family and even with you guys and with my office and everything, right? And the third thing is, I did not so far bothered much about like multiplying the wealth. Maybe like, about the power of compounding. Have you ever heard about it? I was just hearing about something called that book, right? What is it, guys? I told you, right? There is a book called Psychology of Money, right? That and all I was just going through as a crisp thing, right? I realized like power of compounding is very big actually. So we're putting a lot of hard efforts. Ultimately, if we say after 10, 15 years, I did not save much because in IT, we are doing that mistake, right? We are spending everything and we are not saving something. Then the same question we'll ask, our kids will ask to us, what, hey, daddy, you were in IT, you were earning a lot, but you did not bought a land or a house at that time, right? It was only 1.5 crores at that time. They'll be asking you how we feel, we don't ask, we don't make our parents feel bad, but we say them, hey, or even our parents say, hey, at the time and all, it was just 20,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, 5 lakhs. I might have purchased that. So same question may be asked by our kids to us. Gold was just 70,000, 56, 60,000 at that time. Why you did not bought the gold? So plan accordingly, guys. Right? Some of the points, right? Like put your wealth in different buckets. Don't put all eggs in one basket. Like those kind of things and all you try to learn. One side health, another side time management, another side wealth growth, another side think about your this thing, right? The knowledge growth. Right? Now, a small idea can change our life, right? You know that, right? That one of the, I like this, which radio, I don't remember, they used to say, right? An idea can change your life, right? So that is really true. So think about it. Just sit aside and think about all this. If you just go with the way how the things are going, that won't help us much, because that is how it was there in the previous generation and all. Right? I remember my great grandfather, my grandfather and all, after some time they worked, they were just idle and they were enjoying their life. In fact, that we also have to do. We should not be earning till 60 years, right? We have to spend our life very better way after some time of working, after some time of putting all these efforts. So this is the time to put efforts, not for taking rest. I remember still my friend used to tell this. He used to kid like this, I say, hey, let's put hard effort to learn and get settled after some period of time in our first half of the life. Then our second half will go better. He was telling a reverse answer for that. Hey, why I had to put effort in the first half? Why not I can put that effort in the second half? First half, let me enjoy. This is always there, right? I remember my friend used to tell this. Okay. He's a chemical engineer now and working somewhere and all. Different story. What is an answer from your side for this case? Any answer you want to say for this? Which one is better? Whatever he told is correct only, right? Whatever he told is, I can spend happily my first 30 years or 35 years. Balance 35 years, I can enjoy. I mean, I can put effort to maybe like yarn or get settled. Or first 35, put the effort, then I get settled for the rest of the 35 years. Because rest of the 35 years is not predictable. But what I realized in my real life is, it depends, it changes from person to person, correct. But what I realized in my real life is, if you don't have money and spend until year of 35 or 40 without money, it is going to affect only you. But if you don't have a value in the market, in the society, if you need to have a value, you need to have some wealth at least. You should not be you are not supposed to be a rich person, but you must be a wealthy person. What is the difference between wealth and richness, guys? Can you say the difference between these two? If you want to say I am a wealthy person, I'm having a car, I'm having an XUV car, let's assume, okay? And I'm not having a Benz car by spending 80 lakhs. I'm not investing or I'm not spending 80 lakhs as a liability. So my bank account will be reduced with 80 lakhs when I spend in a Benz car. If I spend in a better car, I'm not asking you to go with Maruti 800. I'm not asking you to go with Maruti Alto. We have to consider our family safety also when we buy a car. But we have to buy a decent car, right? That decide us whether we are a wealthy person or a rich person. Richness, we can show our asset or we can show our richness by the way of wearing the dress or the car or the gold or the watch or whatever. But these are all I learned, guys, recently. I'm just trying to reproduce that, okay? If you are going to maybe rather earning that or buying a car for that much amount, if you are going to think that as your investment and if you try to compound that investment, today's 1 lakh is tomorrow's 10 lakhs, right? How? 1 lakh will become 1.5 lakhs, 1.5 will become 2.25, 2.25 will become 3.5, 3.5 will become 7, 6. Like this, you can multiply by using the today's wealth what you have. This and all what I'm just reading in all the 4 aspects, not only concentrating on one aspect. Too much of anything will give you burden only. Too much of anything will give you stress only. So I was learning about lot of things, stress management and all these things in the recent days. I learned that, or I was reading that, or going through that. Mainly the health thing, I'm just taking care for myself predominantly. Then I wanted to propagate to our people also. But all the other 4 factors I'm going through, at least the knowledge side, I'm just transforming to you whatever I can. But the rest of the 3, the health, wealth, and the time management, I wanted to propagate to our team members. So for that, I put a lot of efforts, slicing and dicing and understanding. I realized some of this. I learned some of this. Okay, just trying to convey, guys. Okay, before we close today. Okay, fine, team. Great to be with you all. We'll meet on later point of time, over the call or in person, to share mutual good news. Okay, keep going, guys.
Bro, or
Thank you.
doubt, bro. I have a doubt.
Yes, Sundar. Yeah.
Yeah, shall I share my screen, bro?
Yes. 1 second.
I could not able to run.
Thank you all, guys. Yeah, Sundar.
Yeah, I could not able to run use case 4, 6, 7, 8, bro. Yeah.
In your local, you are in your VM, you are running like that and all. Okay.
Yes, bro. Everything I'm running. Everything
Okay.
I ready. Yeah, this is a use case 4, bro.
Yeah. Mostly we don't have such a classes like this, RV, but I will be sharing some videos if I find you may be using it. Okay. Otherwise, if you want any support, you can reach me out. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Otherwise,
ப்ரோ நீங்கள் வந்து இங்கே கோடு வந்து நம்ம வந்து கிட்டப்லேருந்து கோடை நம்ம வந்து இம்போர்ட் பண்ணிவிட்டு கிட்டப்லேருந்து ரன் பண்ணுறோமா ப்ரோ இது ஆக்சுவலாக?
எஸ், நீங்கள் கிட்டப்லேருந்து ரன் பண்ணலாம்.
ஒரே நிமிஷம் ப்ரோ, எனக்கு இங்கே தான் ப்ரோ டவுட்டு. ஒரே நிமிஷம்.
Thank you, Jeffney Tandar.
ப்ரோ இங்கே வந்து நம்ம கிட்டப் வந்து க்ளவுட் ஷெல்லில் வந்து நம்ம வந்து கனெக்ட் பண்ணிடுறோம்.
ஓகே.
அதுக்கப்புறமா பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நெக்ஸ்ட் டேப் ப்ரோ கோடு
ஒன்று பண்ணலாமா சுந்தரராஜன்? வில் டூ ஒன் திங், ரைட்? Maybe we can connect again. ஓகேங்களா? I'll take 1-to-1 and I'll take the control of your system and show you.
Okay bro, fine.
So by that way, it is easy for me to resolve this and all, right?
Okay.
Maybe like we can just wind off now. Reach me out, ஓகேங்களா? Ping பண்ணுங்க. We can connect sometime tomorrow, even in the post around 11 to 11:30 like that.
Okay bro, I will let you know bro through WhatsApp.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Thank you bro.
Yeah. Fine, Sundar. So Usha, just ping me once again. Okay. I remember you were asking that I made to share that, right? I'll share you once again. Ping me. I was just collecting that and I all of a sudden left it for some reason. I'll share you as well. Okay. Just ping me.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Actually, the
We
link
already
is there.
have some of the document I shared on that, but again I'll ping you. Okay.
Yeah, the link is there, Irfan, in the document, but it is taking me to the Python scenarios document and not the
Okay.
content like what you shared in the interview discussion.
Got you. Let me check that. Yeah. Definitely. Then
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure, Irfan. Thank you.
Okay, Usha. Just ping me. Okay. Remind me if I miss something.
Yeah, sure.
For
Irfan.
everyone.
Thanks.
Yeah. Otherwise. Yeah. Thank you, team. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Yeah. Bye, guys.